Episode 2 of House of the Dragon's second season was much better than Episode 1, more poignant, better written, and certainly a lot closer to the source material. Though Blood and Cheese was blundered and ruined on the show, I think that the aftermath of the event, the pain, the grief, and the political maneuvering following it were all done pretty well and adapted excellently from the source material. In Fire and Blood, it's said that Aegon was enraged after the murder of his son, and that he sought retribution for what Rhaenyra had done. It was because of this that he commanded that all the city's ratcatchers be taken out and hanged, and this was done. House of the Dragon shows how the king's grief and desire for vengeance cause him to take such actions, and it is done believably and excellently. It's mostly Tom Glencarney's performance as Aegon II that really sells the whole thing and makes it convincing to the audience. Aegon's rage and grief is not done poorly or handled stupidly. You can really see that the king truly loved his son and that he was crushed by the manner of his death. I think that it's the strongest performance in this episode. Most people have already reacted to other moments of this episode, such as Aegon's moment with HELAENA on the steps, saying that it was poorly done, that he seems cold towards HELAENA as though he doesn't care for her. I partly disagree with these reactions. Aegon does love HELAENA, but I think that he is probably still struggling to process his grief in the scene. On the show, just as in the book, HELAENA points to a son and Blood and Cheese kill him because of that. Though in the book it's more devastating, I still think that Aegon's reaction to the event is similar. A part of him might blame her for what she did, and he might be unable to comfort her because of that. He does still love her. She is his sister and his wife, the mother of his children, but he is still processing his grief and feels enraged by what happened. On the episode, he blames everyone. Sir Criston for not being present, Alicent for letting Rhaenyra live, and maybe even HELAENA for pointing and allowing for the kid to die. In Fire and Blood, it's said that Aegon and his wife slept separately thereafter, and Queen HELAENA sank deeper and deeper into madness, whilst the king raged and drank and raged. I thought that the show handled this particular moment very well, so I disagree with a lot of the reactions that are against it. However, during the funeral scene, it would have been better if HELAENA lit her son's pyre with her dragon, Dreamfire. In the book, it is custom for Targaryens to be burned when they die, and it's usually a close family member that cremates their body, using their dragon to do so. We saw this happen in Episode 1 of Season 1 when Rhaenyra burned her mother and baby brother's funeral pyre. So it would have been a nice touch during this episode to allow for HELAENA to do the same for her son, Jaehaerys, and to also show the bond that HELAENA might have with the dragon. But instead, she's made to just ride in the back of a wagon and squirm in discomfort as the people of King's Landing try to reach out for her. It's kind of underwhelming when you think about the devastation and guilt that HELAENA is said to have from the book. But Fia Saban is an incredible actress, and she truly does try her best to show HELAENA's grief in this moment. I just think that it's less impactful than the book, where HELAENA is riddled with guilt, paranoia, and deep, deep sadness. Perhaps the change says something about the bias of the writers on the show. The writers handled Rhaenyra's grief and sadness a lot better in the previous episode, and they have certainly changed the events of the book to make her blameless in the event of Blood and Cheese. Even more, in this episode, it's revealed that Daemon might be a little blameless himself, as he admits that killing Jaehaerys was a blunder on the part of Blood and Cheese, something that he never intended. It's possible that Daemon doesn't care anyway, and that doesn't mind that Blood and Cheese killed Jaehaerys, but I certainly believe that he never intended for it to happen that way, especially when you look at how the event itself unfolded. Blood and Cheese stumble upon HELAENA in her bedchambers, and Blood doesn't even know who HELAENA is, so clearly they were not informed about her or her children, and the death of Jaehaerys was obviously a moment of improvisation. the show is biased towards Rhaenyra and the Black faction, so they would never adapt this moment as it was described in the book, with Daemon, Mysaria, and Rhaenyra committing the act deliberately and clearly seeking out the death of one of Aegon's children. If there is an event from the book where Rhaenyra is said to have done something heinous and villainous, you should expect that the show will twist it in order to make her blameless of the event, and the same could be extended to some of the characters of her faction. However, I still think that the argument between her and Daemon was well done, and that it actually sows the seeds for many of the events that happen later on pertaining to their relationship. Perhaps I'll make another video on that in time, but I do love the scene and what it potentially sets up for the future events of the story. However, though I enjoyed many moments that unfolded in this episode, that doesn't really mean that I loved everything about it. My biggest qualm about the show so far is the whole ALICOLE fling, the relationship between Alicent Hightower and Sir Criston Cole. I hate this relationship with every fiber of my being because it really serves no purpose to the narrative whatsoever, and it actually diminishes the compelling nature of these characters, Sir Criston Cole the most. The show has absolutely butchered Sir Criston Cole's character, and it's so hard to believe that this is the same man that Jaime Lannister admires and ponders upon in the main series of books. He is supposed to be the Kingmaker, a cunning politician, and a legendary Kingsguard member. But on the show, he makes stupid decisions and is completely hypocritical and unlikable. His political ambitions and cunning nature are swapped out for the ALICOLE relationship, a stupid plotline where he only cares about betting Alicent. And Alicent's character is also butchered by this nonsense. Instead of the loving mother who comforts her children and tries her best to be there for them, she is instead made into a cold woman who can't even give her son a rub on the back after the death of his own son. Instead, the show swaps such moments out for sex scenes with Sir Criston Cole, and it is so unnecessary and nonsensical and stupid within the context of the story. Like, why change that aspect of Alicent's character, other than to try and depict her as a cold mother and a hypocritical the total opposite of Rhaenyra, who dotes on her children. The whole ALICOLE nonsense is just another element of bias that's been introduced by the show to villainize the Green faction's characters. Now the audience can blame Sir Criston Cole and Alicent Hightower for the death of HELAENA's son, instead of Daemon and Rhaenyra or even Mysaria. The writers are butchering these characters and diminishing their role in the story, but at least they didn't disappoint when it came to the duel between the CARGYLL brothers. This duel was certainly the highlight of this entire episode, and it was done excellently by the writers. I will give them that. In fact, I would go further as to say that it might have been done even better than in the book, as the writers combined the elements of each source's account and made the scene a lot more exciting and poignant. Grand Maester Monken says that the twins loved each other and died in each other's arms, with tears in their cheeks, having had dealt each other mortal wounds. But Mushroom says that they hated each other and that they each died cursing the other. The show takes elements of each source, showing that the twins loved each other dearly, but that they were driven to fight each other till the death because of their duties to their respective monarchs. They resent each other a bit, but their love is stronger in the end. And though one twin surely kills the other, he also takes his own life rather than live with the guilt of having had killed his brother. It's hard to tell if this is Eric or Arik in the end, but either way, it is poignant and well done, and the show definitely did it better than in the book. Overall, though this episode surely has its flaws, it was a big improvement from the last episode, and it was clearly written better. There was action, political intrigue, and a lot of poignant emotions in this episode, a great improvement from the last one. And also, DAERON Targaryen was mentioned in this episode, so he does exist on the show and we will see him in the future. DAERON being mentioned was probably one of my favorite moments in the entire episode if I'm being honest. But what was yours? Let me know what you thought about episode 2 of House of the Dragon. And if you like this video, then hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for future content. Thank you for watching. Peace.